Well, that's interesting you say that. You have a lot of controversial stuff to say about preachers in general.
Yes.
I mean, and basically I've heard you say that pimps in the pulpit and talk about tithing and taking money and riding around. What do you mean by all that?
If you look at church today, church has become the largest multi-billion-dollar racket in the world. It's a racket. It has outbeat the mafia long time ago. What make it worse is most of these preachers racketeer behind the name of Jesus. Now, if you look at television and look at the program that is going on today, what do you hear preached? God got a miracle with your name on it. Touch and claim it. And if you look at the so-called prayer line, everyone is getting pushed on the floor. Notice, the preacher, when he lay hand on you, and nobody fall down on the floor unless someone is back of you to catch you. And if the Lord is really dealing with you, then just fall flat on concrete and call it a day. But if you look at the schemes, blessed water, oil from Jerusalem, lucky, all these type of gimmicks. Church supposed to be designed to develop the people mentally, spiritually, physically, in every manner. And church is not doing that today.
Benefits don't stop there because you're protected by the government. For all the other plebs out there, the IRS may seem like your worst enemy, but the churches, they're your guardian angel. Because of that great little clause in the US Constitution that says freedom of religion or whatever, the IRS has always taken a very hands-off approach to overseeing and regulating churches, an approach that they're not well known for. That means the business of religion puts the greatest tax havens on earth, like the Cayman Islands, to shame. No plebeian federal, state, local, or property taxes. You don't have to worry about that pesky FTC looking into your sketchy business practices like they most definitely would if those same practices, or even much less sketchy practices, were used in any other business. And you also get other very nice perks unheard of anywhere else, with my favorite being the parsonage allowance, which basically means that you can be paid a certain amount of money every year from your church as a housing allowance. That's not too special. The special part is that not only is that income not taxed, but there's no cap to it. Since the housing allowance is only limited by the fair rental market value of the house, you can live in any size house your heart desires and not pay any taxes.
The bigger the house, the bigger the tax break, because the parsonage allowance is limited only by the fair market rental value of the pastor's home.
Now I know you're thinking, the only logical path forward is to become a preacher profiteer. But how? What are the actual steps that you can take to make money in the name of whatever God you choose?
You keep coming back to that.
Yes, I do, because years ago, and I'm only 50 years old, I don't know how old you are, but when I was coming up, the fear of God was taught to us.
Right.
If you take fear and respect for God out of church, you don't have no church. So if you look at the international mega churches that is functioning today, the fear of God is not being preached. There's only one message being preached: money. Money have took the place of God, and for that cause, the sinner don't respect church. The sinner laugh at church. You get the so-called Christians, he's in the same club and having the same parties that the churches are doing. I mean, look at it. When I came up, it was said that the church is a light to the world. The church is not a light to nobody. The sinner have became to the light to the world. If you take note, whatever the sinner want to do, the church mimic it. Sinner come out with rapping, church come out with rapping. The sinner come out with exploiting young sisters with videos and half naked shaking their behind. What the church do? Christian music with the same theme. Christian young girls shaking their behind naked. It's just play.
You often hear some of these prosperity preachers refer to it as sowing your seed. The implication is pretty obvious to anyone who is watching. No, you give us some of your money, and in return that value will be given back to you in some way, shape or form. It's the harvest.
I want you to go to the phone or online and sow a seed. Now remember,
somebody's son is going to be set free from alcohol because of your $1,000 seed.
And I'm going to ask you to sow an exceptional and uncommon seed of $1,000.
To click on that donation button to sow $1,144.
So God is giving you the harvest, and the harvest of the seed you sow. You can't expect a harvest if you don't sow seed, spiritual, physical, or financial.
Right. But do you agree that the ministers should have some kind of salary? They should be compensated.
Let them get a job and go to work. The Bible said if you don't work, you don't eat. What the preachers have done, they have took the pulpit and made it business. That's why you see them. You see Benny Hinn, these international fellas, the $10,000 prayer line, the $50,000 prayer line. It isn't practically every preacher before he go off the television.
So that's not a job then?
No.
On January the 12th of 2008, Kenneth Copeland Ministries took possession of a Gulfstream jet, which was funded all thanks to the donors of his church. In fact, KCM wrote a blog post thanking their followers for helping them, quote, harvest the Gulfstream. But our work is not done. To which the blog then proceeds to remind their followers that they still need $17 million more, which will be used for the, quote, sowing towards the construction of a new hangar, upgrading the existing runway, and purchasing special Gulfstream maintenance equipment. Or how about Creflo Dollar's infamous sermon, to which he tells his congregation to help him fundraise towards a private jet, all to the response of cheers and applause from the audience.
If I want to believe God for a $65 million plane, you cannot stop me. You cannot stop me from dreaming.
See, Copeland and Dollar's pleas for money, they're not met with criticism and backlash from their congregation. It's celebrated. And prosperity preachers will obviously say that this aids in their quest to spread their message across to different countries.
If I flew commercial, I'd have to stop 65% of what I'm doing.
Conveniently, that message obviously allows them to make even more in donations. But these preachers, they don't just live lavish, right? They put it on full display.
You think Jesus Christ would roll around in a Rolls Royce?
I think he would. Let's get a close-up of Gloria's ring.
Where am I looking? Right here.
You fly in a private plane.
Yes, I do.
You're staying right now in one of the fanciest hotels in New York City.
Yes, I am.
You wear
clothes.
very nice clothing. So
the wealth of these preachers, they're not seen as gross or hypocritical. In fact, they're seen as proof that the teachings work. It's seen as them actually practicing what they preach. The extravagant lifestyle, that's not a mistake or a flaw. It's a feature of the prosperity gospel. Many of these preachers will say that the funds that they received are used only for ministry purposes. Osteen, for example, says that he doesn't receive any salary from his ministry and all the money he makes comes from his book sales. Look, in some ways, I don't really care if a ministry wants to buy a private jet. It looks optically hypocritical, but I'd rather let theologians argue over the contradictions that those actions have with actual religious texts. I'm more interested in how the money is generated, and it doesn't get more unethical of a promise than it does with the prosperity gospel.
If you're accustomed of giving $10, go to 20. Go up to 70, 80, 100. Raise that amount and watch what God will do, because
don't you stop sowing offerings. Well, they won't let us go to church. Well, email it in there, text and give or something. You get that tithe in that church, you get that offering in that church, and then you go home and you do what we're supposed to do.
I mean, I need to know this.
No. When God make a preacher, God don't make a preacher for you to pay him. Who paid Jesus? It ain't a preacher walking this earth that's bigger than Jesus. It's not a preacher on this earth that's better than Jesus. He didn't get paid a salary. So why do these preachers got to get paid a salary?
You got me confused. So where did tithes come from?
Tithing was designed back in the Old Testament, was for the Levitical priesthood. It wasn't a salary. It wasn't something that you paid them. When the tithing that was given to the priests for ministering and for the work, it wasn't just with money. It was just in land. It was land also. It was part of livestock also. See, tithing should be used not just if you're going to help the minister, fine, but you got people in the church that may be poor. That may need food, that may need clothes.
You do realize we have preachers watching this show that might be getting...
Oh, I hope they are watching it. Because, see, the reason why a lot of preachers don't like us because we take the fun out of their life. See, it's like a robber. No robber love a policeman. I never seen the robber run after stealing and hug and kiss the cop. So a lot of preachers retaliate against us, and they say that we're mean and all this stuff. No, we just call a spade a spade. The sinner have no respect for church, and you don't blame them. If you turn on practically every television program, they all got the same message. God got a miracle with your name on it. God wants everybody to be rich. Go out there and touch that car and claim it. So the way the preachers have it is like this. God will bless you based upon the amount of money you give. Well, if God only going to do something for me based upon my money, what about if I don't have no money?
Right.
And Jesus told us, the poor you have with you always. So I don't want a God who only can do something for me when I got money. Because if I need money and don't have it, then I need to seek God for it.